Have you ever wondered why he suddenly starts texting you again after weeks or months of silence? Why does he seem to appear out of nowhere just when you've finally started moving on? If you've implemented no contact and noticed your ex or that guy who was giving you mixed signals suddenly showing renewed interest, you're not alone. This phenomenon is so common that it's almost predictable. And today we're going to break down exactly why it happens. Picture this. You've been dealing with a man who was hot and cold, giving you mixed signals, or maybe you just went through a painful breakup. You decided to take control of your life and implement no contact. You stopped texting first, stopped responding to his breadcrumbs, and focused on yourself. Then, just when you're starting to feel good about your decision, your phone buzzes with his name on the screen. Sound familiar? This isn't coincidence, and it's not fate. There's actual psychology behind this pattern, and understanding it will change how you view relationships forever. Today, we're diving deep into the male psyche to understand why men return after you go no contact. We'll explore the real reasons this happens, what's going through his mind during your absence, the different types of returns you might experience, and most importantly, how you should handle it when he inevitably comes back. By the end of this video, you'll understand the powerful dynamics at play, recognize the red flags versus genuine change, and be equipped to make the best decisions for your emotional well-being. You'll never again wonder if his return means something deeper, because you'll know exactly what it means and how to respond accordingly. The psychology of absence. Why distance creates desire when you suddenly remove yourself from a man's life. Something fascinating happens in his mind that most people don't fully understand. During the relationship or situationship, your presence became familiar, comfortable, and perhaps even taken for granted. Your constant availability, your quick responses to his texts, your emotional investment, your willingness to accommodate his schedule, all of this created a routine that he settled into without much thought. But when you disappear, that routine is completely shattered. The human brain is wired to notice what's missing far more than what's present. It's called the scarcity principle, and it works on a subconscious level that bypasses rational thought. When you're no longer there, he begins to notice the void you've left behind in ways he never appreciated your presence. The good morning texts he used to ignore or respond to with single words suddenly become something he finds himself expecting and missing. The emotional support you provided, the way you listened to his problems, the comfort of knowing someone cared about his day, all of these things become glaringly absent. The funny memes you used to send, the way you remembered important things happening in his life, the emotional labor you provided without him even realizing it was labor, now it's all gone. This isn't necessarily love, and this is crucial to understand. It's often just the discomfort of change and loss. It's the same reason people miss their ex's dog or feel nostalgic about a job they hated or find themselves craving a restaurant they haven't been to in years. The human brain creates emotional attachments to familiarity, and when that familiarity is removed, it creates psychological discomfort. During your absence, his brain starts playing tricks on him. It begins to romanticize the relationship, filtering out the bad memories and amplifying the good ones. This is called rosy retrospection, And it's a cognitive bias that makes past experiences seem better than they actually were. He starts remembering only the highlights, the great conversations, the physical chemistry, the way you made him feel validated and desired, the ego factor. When his self-image takes a hit, let's be brutally honest about something many people don't want to acknowledge. Ego plays a massive role in why men return after no contact. For many men, especially those who are used to being pursued or who have become comfortable with having their emotional needs met without reciprocating. Having someone who's clearly interested and available serves as a constant validation of their desirability. Your attention was feeding his ego in ways he probably didn't even recognize while he had it. Every time you texted first, every time you made yourself available when he reached out, every time you showed interest despite his inconsistent behavior, you were essentially telling him that he was worth pursuing. This created a steady stream of validation that he absorbed without appreciating. When you remove that validation by going silent, it can trigger what psychologists call narcissistic injury. This doesn't mean he's a full-blown narcissist, but all humans have some degree of narcissistic tendencies, and men are often socialized to derive their self-worth from their ability to attract and maintain female attention. His ego begins to question everything. Why are you no longer pursuing him? Did you find someone better? Are you no longer interested? Have you realized you're too good for him? Are you talking to other men? This uncertainty can be deeply unsettling, especially if he's used to being the one who controls the pace and intensity of the relationship. The questions become consuming. Why isn't she chasing me anymore? What changed? Who is she with now? Your absence forces him to confront the reality that he might not be as irresistible as he thought, and that you might actually be able to live without him. This realization can be a serious blow to his self-image. For men who are used to having multiple options or who pride themselves on their ability to keep women interested with minimal effort, your sudden disinterest represents a failure of their usual strategies. It suggests that their charm, their looks, their status, or whatever they typically rely on to maintain female attention might not be enough to keep you hooked. Fear of missing out, the FOMO that drives him crazy. FOMO isn't just about social media. It's a powerful psychological driver in relationships too. When you go no contact, you essentially become a mystery. And humans are naturally curious creatures who hate unsolved puzzles. He starts wondering what you're doing, who you're with, whether you're dating someone new, and whether you're moving on without him. This fear of missing out can become absolutely consuming. He might find himself checking your social media obsessively, asking mutual friends about you, or driving by places he knows you frequent. He's not necessarily missing you as a person, he's missing the knowledge and control he used to have over your emotional state and your life. He starts imagining scenarios, and his imagination rarely works in his favor. He pictures you laughing with another man, having amazing dates, being treated better than he treated you, or simply thriving in ways that don't include him. He might imagine you've become the person he always knew you could be, but only after removing him from your life. This mental torture is often what drives men to break no contact. They can't stand not knowing what they're missing. The uncertainty becomes more uncomfortable than the relationship ever was. At least when you were together or in contact, he knew where he stood and what you were doing. Now, every day that passes is another day of possibilities he's not part of. The fear becomes particularly intense when he realizes that other men might be recognizing your value in ways he failed to. The thought that someone else might be appreciating the qualities he took for granted, or that you might be giving someone else the love and attention you used to give him, can drive him to reach out just to reassure himself that he still has access to you. The grass isn't always greener. Reality check. Many men return after no contact because they've had time to compare their current situation to what they had with you. And the comparison isn't favorable. Maybe he thought he wanted more freedom, more options, less commitment, or less emotional responsibility. Maybe he believed that single life would be more exciting, that he could find someone better, or that he needed to focus on other priorities. But after experiencing that reality for weeks or months, he might realize that what he had with you was actually pretty good. The freedom he thought he wanted turned out to be loneliness. The options he thought he had turned out to be less appealing than he imagined. The excitement he was seeking turned out to be fleeting and unsatisfying. This doesn't mean he's had a profound realization about your worth or that he's suddenly ready to commit. It often just means his other options didn't pan out the way he expected. He might have discovered that dating is harder than he remembered, especially if he's been out of the game for a while. The apps are brutal, the dating scene has changed, and the effort required to build new connections is exhausting. He might have realized that other women don't treat him as well as you did. They don't laugh at his jokes the way you did. They don't remember the little things about his life. They don't provide the same level of emotional support. Or they expect more from him than he's willing to give. You spoiled him with your attention and care, and now he's experiencing what it's like to be with someone who expects him to actually work for their affection. The single life he romanticized might have turned out to be repetitive and hollow. The nights out that seemed so appealing when he was in a relationship now feel empty. The casual encounters that seemed exciting in theory left him feeling disconnected and unsatisfied. He might have realized that having someone who genuinely cared about him was actually valuable, even if he didn't appreciate it at the time. Boredom and convenience, the uncomfortable truth, sometimes the reason men return after no contact is frustratingly simple. He's bored and you're a known quantity. This is perhaps the most painful truth to accept, but it's also the most important one to understand because it can save you from making the same mistakes over and over again. You represent easy emotional labor, familiar intimacy, and a reliable source of attention and validation. When his life becomes routine, when he's between other romantic interests, when he's feeling lonely or down about himself, or when he simply has nothing better to do, reaching out to you feels like the path of least resistance. He knows exactly which buttons to push to get a response from you. He knows your weak spots, your hopes, your fears, and your patterns. He knows that if he sends the right message at the right time, you'll probably respond. He knows that you have history together, which means he doesn't have to put in the effort of getting to know someone new or building rapport from scratch. This is perhaps the most important point to understand because it reveals that his return isn't about you being special or irreplaceable. It's about you being convenient and accessible. He's not reaching out because he's realized he can't live without you. He's reaching out because he can and because he's reasonably confident that you'll engage with him. Think about it from his perspective. Why would he put effort into meeting someone new, learning their interests, building attraction, and navigating the uncertainty of a new connection when he could simply text someone he already knows will probably respond positively? It's the emotional equivalent of ordering from the same restaurant because it's familiar and satisfying, not because it's the best food in town. The validation cycle, a toxic pattern for some men. The pattern of leaving and returning becomes a way to validate their own desirability and maintain control over your emotions. Each time you take them back or respond positively to their return, it confirms that they still have power over you. This creates a toxic cycle where your no contact period becomes just another phase in a predictable pattern of manipulation. These men might actually subconsciously rely on the no contact period as a way to reset the relationship dynamic. They know that absence makes the heart grow fonder, and they use this knowledge strategically. They disappear long enough for you to miss them, then return when they sense you might be moving on. The cycle typically works like this. He becomes distant or ends things. You go no contact. He realizes what he's missing and comes back with renewed interest. You take him back because his attention feels so good after the deprivation. Things are great for a while. Then he becomes comfortable again and starts taking you for granted, and the cycle repeats. Understanding this dynamic is crucial because it helps you recognize when someone is genuinely interested in rebuilding something meaningful versus when they're just testing their influence over your emotions. A man who is genuinely interested in change will approach you differently than one who's just running his usual playbook. The different types of returns, recognizing the patterns. Not all returns are created equal, and understanding the different types can help you respond appropriately. The breadcrumb return involves small, low-effort messages designed to test if you're still responsive. These might be casual texts like "thinking of you" or "how have you been," without any real substance or follow-through. The emergency return happens when something goes wrong in his life and he needs emotional support. He might reach out during a family crisis, job loss, or health scare, not because he misses you specifically, but because he knows you're someone who will care and provide comfort. The nostalgic return typically involves him reaching out on significant dates, your anniversary, his birthday, holidays, or other meaningful occasions. These messages often focus on memories and what we had rather than what he wants to build going forward. The competitive return occurs when he learns or suspects you're dating someone else. Suddenly, he's interested again, not because he's realized your value, but because he can't stand the thought of another man having what he discarded. The convenience return happens when his other options have dried up or when he's going through a lonely period. He reaches out because you're familiar and he knows you'll provide attention and validation with minimal effort on his part. Finally, there's the genuine return, which is the rarest but most significant. This involves him taking full accountability for his previous behavior, demonstrating real change through actions, not just words, and approaching you with humility and genuine desire to rebuild something healthy. What his return really means, reading between the lines when he comes back after you've gone no contact, it's essential to look at his actions, not just his words. Is he offering real change, genuine accountability, and consistent effort? Or is he using familiar love bombing tactics, making grand promises without concrete plans, and expecting things to go back to how they were? Pay attention to how he approaches you. Does he acknowledge the issues that led to the separation? Does he take responsibility for his role in the problems? Does he have a clear plan for how things would be different? Or does he gloss over the past and focus only on how much he's missed you? His return is rarely about a sudden realization of your worth. More often, it's about his discomfort with change, his need for validation, his fear of losing control, or his inability to find something better. This doesn't make him evil or manipulative by design, but it does mean you need to protect your own interests and emotional well-being. Look at the timing of his return. Did he reach out when he was likely feeling lonely, bored, or unsuccessful in other areas of his life? Did he contact you after seeing you looking happy on social media? Did he reach out during a time when he typically seeks comfort or validation? The truth is, men often return after no contact, not because they've realized they can't live without you, but because they can't live with the discomfort of not having you available. Understanding this distinction is empowering because it helps you make decisions based on reality rather than fantasy. His return doesn't validate your worth. You were valuable before he left, during his absence, and regardless of whether he comes back, your value doesn't increase because he's suddenly interested again. And it doesn't decrease if he continues to stay silent. You are complete with or without his validation. And any relationship worth having will be built on mutual respect, consistent effort, and genuine compatibility. The goal of understanding these patterns isn't to become cynical about love or to assume the worst about every man who reaches out after a period of silence. The goal is to become discerning, to protect your emotional energy, and to recognize the difference between someone who's genuinely interested in building something meaningful and someone who's just seeking validation or convenience. Remember that you have the power to choose how you respond. You can acknowledge his message without immediately reopening the door. You can take time to evaluate his intentions without feeling guilty about making him wait. You can set boundaries about what you're willing to accept and what you need to see before considering giving him another chance. Your no contact period wasn't just about making him miss you. It was about giving yourself space to grow, to gain perspective, and to remember who you are outside of his validation. Don't let his return erase all of that progress. Use the clarity you've gained to make decisions that serve your highest good, not just your immediate emotions. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more content about relationships, self-worth, and personal growth. Remember, the goal isn't to get him back. It's to build a life so fulfilling that his return becomes optional, not essential. Share your thoughts in the comments below about your own experiences with men returning after no contact. And I'll see you in the next video where we'll discuss specific strategies for maintaining your power when he does inevitably reach out. Stay strong, stay focused on your growth, and remember that you deserve someone who chooses you consistently, not just when it's convenient for them. Your worth isn't determined by who comes back into your life, but by how you choose to respond when they do.